Hi, everybody, and welcome to this new episode that we are filming today with the beautiful Molly McKinna, who is an artist from the UK who worked with Ren. Hi.
Hello.
So this is one thing we are going to talk about, how you ended up on that album. But first of all, I really want to know a little more about you. So can you maybe tell us how you got into music?
Okay, so I started off kind of musically. My mum got me piano lessons when I was little.
Yeah.
I got to grade 3 and then I quit
Okay.
because I was a teenager and didn't think it was cool. So I stopped
Mm.
and I regret it like my mum told me I would regret it. When I was in high school, that's when I really started to enjoy music. I had a group of friends. So I went to an all-girls school. So we spent
Okay.
a lot of our time making music, and I ended up in a little a cappella band with my closest friends, and we kind of performed all the school things, and we ended up being music
Yeah.
prefects, which was really lovely. And then I started playing guitar when I was 16. I started teaching myself. Yeah, and then I moved on to college and was going to do A levels, and I did a week of them and decided, well, this is pants and really boring. So I signed up to the music performance BTEC. So that's when I really started to realise actually this is something I'm quite good at and I actually enjoy
Mm.
it. And that's kind of when I started writing. So at about 16,
Yeah.
17,
Yeah.
started performing, and then I went on to uni, carried on doing that, but focused on songwriting. I recorded my first EP at
Oh,
uni
yeah.
because they had studios and things. So, yeah, I was quite lucky really that I had that opportunity because it definitely kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah, because you recorded in the uni studio then.
Yeah, and I mean it's a
Okay,
great
great.
place to network. You meet a lot of people when you're at uni.
Yeah, yeah. But so when was your first EP then? Was it 2017 or something like that?
Yeah, maybe 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it feels like
yeah.
yesterday, but it really wasn't yesterday.
But yes, so you did started with that, and then the second one, did you also record it at uni or did you do it in another studio?
I've only done the one. That's the
Oh,
thing.
the other ones were only singles, right?
Yeah, I released a couple singles. I think both of those. So that was Get to Know You and Over. Get to Know You
Yeah.
was a track that I did with a fellow producer called Benji Winters. He's very talented. And we did
Yeah.
that. That was outside of uni. He actually didn't go to uni. I think we met on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
And then Over, yeah, that was later on. I think that was probably second year that I did that.
And
Yeah.
so you've been doing these few singles, and do you have any plan or do you have a wish to produce some more and to put some more EPs out or LPs?
Yeah, I wish I had a plan, but
But well,
I
a wish, a
I
wish.
absolutely have a wish. I've got a big backlog of songs that I just am desperate to record and get out there. Logistically, it's very difficult.
I think people don't always realize how much skill it takes to self-produce music
Yeah,
and how much you need to know about producing, and then there's all of the technology that comes with it today, and so
that's
you
it.
really it's to be, people think maybe you can just take a microphone, your guitar, and record something at home, but that's not really how it works when you really want to have a
Yeah,
professional sound and really put an EP out. So it does require time and resources to go into the studio and do that. Yeah.
yeah. I think I'm going to be working on making a plan for it in terms of being able to save financially to be able to do it and just do a bit more networking. And I think leaving uni, it was just a bit of a wake up call to that's not what really life is like. Because I was surrounded by musicians every single day.
Yeah.
I lived in a house full of them, and then I moved
Yeah.
out and came back home and had to work full time.
Yeah.
And doing the job that I do, it's really hard to find the time/energy.
It does take a lot of energy, and it does take a lot of time. I mean, if you really think, well, I'm going to plan something, record an entire album, if you have like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 songs to record, it takes so much time to do that. So I mean, if you're having, your regular 9 to 5, then finding the time to go to the studio, every day or every other day and do that, it's really,
Yeah,
really hard. So it's
yeah.
not easy. It's not easy to try being an independent musician at the same time having a full-time job. That's really time, energy consuming too. So yeah, that's really hard. Apart from all of the recording and everything, you've been performing for quite some time now, right?
Yeah, definitely on the smaller scale, but yeah, a lot of local, even just open mics and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, sure. When
Yeah,
do you remember the first time that your first performance?
I think I do actually. I would have been about maybe 16 or 17, and it was at our local pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, called The Smuggler's Return. And I was so nervous. I was a really nervous performer for a really long time. It's only been
Yeah.
the past couple of years where actually it's not as like nerve wracking and scary. I mean, it's still scary, but the nerves last for like a minute, and then
Yeah.
once you're there, it's fine.
And so after that, did something get triggered in you that the first time you performed, even if you were really nervous, was there something, where you thought, oh, I have to do this again?
Absolutely, and I think because I did stuff at school and things with that group of girls that I told you about, but I'd never done it on my own. And I think because I always avoided auditioning for things at school on my own because I was just too nervous.
Yeah,
And I think I almost proved to myself that actually I can do it. And it made me realise that it is something that I really, really love doing.
yeah,
But I also don't want to be Taylor Swift either. I'm not that bothered
yeah,
of being super duper famous.
yeah.
Um, you know, but my music means a lot to me. And I think I
Yeah,
hope that shows.
yeah, it does, because you write everything you perform, right? You write your own lyrics, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I do covers as well if I do play a gig, but I mainly try and do my own. Um, and each song that I have written, yeah, it really does mean a lot to me. And they're each personal. It's not just me making up. It's based on things that have happened to me.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's going to be my next question, is where do you find your inspiration, and where does the most part of your inspiration come from? Because it's not to say, but I've been listening to your music, and the lyrics are generally a little bit sad, on the sadder side.
Boys
Sorry,
that
what
aren't
did you
very
say?
kind.
Oh, yeah. So that's a great
Yeah,
inspiration.
the
Yeah,
classic. But recently, I've been working on not focusing on just that, but that's also because I'm happy. So that's
yeah,
probably a big part of it. There is a funny story about a couple songs that I wrote in the past few years. They haven't been released yet. So
yeah.
I wrote one of them. It's called Honey, and it's about realizing just how awful this person was that I was with, and really just
Mhm.
laying it out there. I
Yeah.
decided to go perform it for the first ever time at an open mic.
Mhm.
Said person was stood at the back.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. And there was no reason for him to be there. He wouldn't have
yeah.
known that I was there. So then the next song I wrote was about that.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're two
really
of my
great.
favourites. So actually, I
And
think it's all
how
worth
how
it.
did you know, while you were performing the song, or when you arrived on at the place you were going to perform, did you see he was there before you performed the song, or
No,
afterwards?
in the middle of playing it,
In the middle of that song, you saw him?
I looked up and he was just stood in the doorway.
But that's just serendipity, right?
Yeah, he
I mean,
deserved to hear it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. No, that's really great. That you must have felt, a whole lot of emotions there, but you must have felt good too to
It
sing
was
that, to his
empowering.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely empowering. Very
Yeah.
surreal. It was a
Yeah.
bit of a woe moment.
Yeah. But that's also, I think, where, well, especially as a performer, but then I think also for anyone who likes music and, you know, good writing, I think that shows the power of words, you know, and
Absolutely.
how much talking about something and expressing yourself can help you, you know, overcome trauma and overcome
Yeah.
difficult times or difficult emotions and help you process emotions. So I think it's really that shows, you know, in some of those instances how powerful that is and how empowering it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm honestly so grateful that I have the passion I do for music and that
Mm.
I realise the gift I have for writing because it's
Yeah.
been such an outlet for me.
Mm.
I have had a lot of difficult things happen in my life, and I think without music and having that outlet, I don't really know how I would have been able to deal with it. So that's actually a really beautiful thing, and I think I hope other people could kind of hear that too.
Yeah, it does come through with the music, definitely. It's just the feeling you get. It's especially powerful when it's your own words, but even
Yeah,
if you know, doing a cover where you can really relate to the lyrics and they mean something to you, even if it's not your words, then music does really help. And I've encountered some, very few, but some people who have told me, you know, oh, I don't really listen to music, you know, to the question like, what is your favorite genre? There are
what?
some people, they go like, I don't really know. I don't really listen to music, or I just listen to the radio sometimes. And I can't get that. I just can't comprehend how
That is
you can function
mind
with,
blowing.
oh yeah, like what do you do? What's happening in your
Yeah,
life that you don't listen to music? Because I have music on every day.
yeah,
There have been, I don't know how many days, I could probably count them on both my hands, you know, where I haven't listened to music at all, you know, and during
yeah,
the day or play music or whatever. So I can barely understand how you can function without music in your life, because for me music is like the soundtrack to your life, you know, because it
yeah.
changes with time. You know, you listen to different types and different genres of music when you grow up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, music is timeless, and like you say, it's like smells, isn't it? You can
Yeah.
relate each song to a time in your life. There's just something so precious about actually being able to. You can hear a song, and it'll take you back to a moment in your life that, and even if
Oh
it's
yeah.
a good moment, you can then look back and be like, "Wow, this song doesn't hit me the way it used to," but actually, that's a really
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, yeah, also, but then, yeah, and the meaning sometimes evolves through time. It changes through time also.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that feeling where you get this throwback feeling, I've had that at different concerts. The last one was where I had that was last summer, because I've been going to rock metal festivals since 2015. It's the Hellfest in France, and they've been doing that for I think 20 years now. And I think it's between 160 and 180 bands over 4 days. So you have like five different stages. It's a huge thing. And last year, one of the top bands was The Offspring. And so I stood in front of the concert, and the moment they went on stage and started playing, I was 15 again. You know, I was like, this was, you know, it was just
Yeah.
an amazing moment to have that same feeling, you know, come back again. And it's, you know, reminded me of so many things. I had so many images in my head of me, you know, being playing with my friends after school, playing music by the lake and stuff. And it was just, yeah, this overwhelming feeling of memory coming back. And
Mm,
it's really, that's something very specific to music, and as you said, to smells too, that it
yeah.
works with the brain. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so, what are your influences? What would you say are your greatest musical influences from when you were a child? Maybe the old ones.
The first one that comes to mind is Shania Twain. She's,
Oh, really?
yeah, I grew up listening to her, and again, it takes me back to she was my family's holiday album. So as soon as
Yeah.
we landed at the destination and we had the drive from the airport to the villa, Shania Twain was on, and it was time to get hyped. Yeah, I've been listening to her ever since I was little, and it should feel good to the max with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually got to see her in 2023. I saw her live.
Oh, wow.
It was so overwhelming. So I was like,
Yeah.
you're the reason I do this.
I think now that you say it, I can hear a little bit of that influence also in the way you play your guitar and how you compose your songs.
Yeah, possibly. It's definitely not intentional, but I guess I've been listening to her so much that it probably would just be ingrained there. Coldplay is another big one. I
Yeah.
know they're controversial. People either hate them or love them. I think
Yeah,
they're
I don't really
fantastic.
understand that about it.
No,
I really don't understand why people would hate Coldplay so much
I don't get it
because
either.
yeah, I think they're really great. I think they write great songs, and there are some of those songs that they've done, that they've written and composed 15 years ago that we're still listening to that have
Exactly.
have become classics now.
Yeah, I think their sound is absolutely timeless and it's just
Yeah,
unique, and it really, I don't know, their music always really hits me deep, and
yeah.
so they are absolutely the top ones for
Have
sure.
you seen them live?
No,
Oh,
and I don't know if I
not
ever
yet.
will. The tickets are
Not
like
yet.
£500.
That
So
I think that's a huge issue. That it actually creates an enormous divide between people who have the means to go to concerts and others who really want to but who just don't have the money. And
yeah,
I can remember a time where concert tickets weren't that expensive, and there were some of the really huge bands where you would maybe pay 50, 60 pounds or euros to go
yeah,
and see. You were like, oh, that's really expensive, because then all the other concerts were like 20, a tenner or 20 or what.
exactly.
And you could really go, everyone could go to concerts. And now when I see people taking loans to go and see Taylor Swift, I'm like, this is
Yeah,
crazy.
it is
This is just
crazy.
mad, to pay, I don't know, 1,500, for a ticket concert. It's just
That's
completely
it.
crazy. I was listening to the different singles and to your EP and the different singles, and I could see that there was quite a change between your EP and the last single that you put out, because the last one sounded less indie folk and a little bit more, you know, electro influence and stuff. So
Yeah,
there's been an evolution, right, in your music and what you
sort
compose.
of. I think that's a big part of that is because that was a collaboration. So I generally still wouldn't lean towards writing more electronic.
Yeah,
Um, it's something that I'm definitely interested in collaboration wise, lo-fi and
yeah,
how that like liquid house and drum and bass.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I definitely can work with that vocally. But when it comes to writing on my own and kind of working on my own, what comes naturally is more the acoustic and indie
yeah,
folk kind of
yeah.
alternative sound. So
Especially if you're writing sad songs. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
that's the
that's
way to
exactly
go
it.
for. But
Yeah.
I think because you said before that your writing has changed a bit, and because you're also happier now in your life than you were before, I think it's also more coherent, because you can't write something very authentic about a situation you're not in, or you haven't lived in. And I think if you're in the middle of a situation and you write, then it's far more authentic than if you're feeling extremely happy and you're trying to write a really sad song. It must take quite the mindset to put yourself back into something. So also that makes the difference, I think, too.
All the sad songs I've written, I have written right in the middle of the sad.
Yeah, yeah,
And I've been
yeah,
there weeping whilst I'm writing it. But that's when I know it's good. And even though I am happy and I'm in a lovely relationship, I still find it very hard to write happy music.
yeah.
I don't know why. It's a bit annoying. But
But it is. I think it's because it's maybe there's a little bit, especially if you've been writing a lot of sad songs. I think there's a bit of a cheesy element in writing a happy song. It's like, oh yay, you know, rainbows
Yeah,
and everything. And so it's
yeah.
that is it kind of probably feels a bit cheesy to be writing about, oh, my life is great and everyone's nice, because you say you feel it's not entirely the truth, because the world, it doesn't work that way.
No,
So
but I think it's expanded my kind of writing horizons in
yeah.
the sense that the more recent songs I've written are, whilst I am happy, I still have a lot of internal struggles. So I've written a lot more about those things. So they're still sad, just not relationally sad.
I think they don't necessarily have to be extremely sad, but just about, you know, what we're all experiencing within ourselves is complex. It's not always just sad or just, you know, or anger or, you know, kind of negative feelings, but just that struggle, you know, and different things we're all struggling with. I think is very it's very important to, you know, to write about those topics too, because it's a very common thing. And I mean, in a struggle, even if we all have different struggles, I think that just the fact, you know, of being a human struggling, you know, within ourselves is very,
Yeah,
so it's very relatable too.
that's the thing. And I think that just the wonderful thing about music is that each individual is going to pick out different things from a song.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's going to mean different things to absolutely everybody, and it might mean
Mm.
something completely different to someone else. But
Mm.
that's what you're hearing because that's what's relevant to them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and the most of the music I listen to, it is emotional and it is deep.
Yeah.
And they're smaller artists as well, but I absolutely love them. There's an artist that I adore. She's Portuguese. She's called Maro. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No, I haven't.
Oh, she's amazing. She's got such a beautiful voice, and she sings some songs her native language,
Yeah.
and then she sings a lot in English as well, and she has a
Mm.
couple of guitarists with her. I would highly recommend listening.
Oh yeah, I will. I
Yeah,
will go listen to that. And so, how I want to know how how all of this came together with you being on Ren's album and everything. So, can you maybe start at the beginning and tell us, you
yeah.
know, how you met and how this came to fruition, and, you know, how you ended up on that album?
So, I actually met Ren before he came, the big guy, before
Yeah,
everyone knew who he was.
yeah.
Um, which I think was very lucky for me because I don't think it would have happened otherwise. But I was visiting Brighton. I was actually meant to be playing a gig, but when I turned up, it kind of seemed a bit dodgy and it was in someone's front room.
Okay.
So I said, actually, no, I'm not going to go do that. So instead, I went for a walk along Brighton seafront and I saw Ren busking. So I sat and watched him for about an hour, trying to build up the courage to go up to him. But I did. I was only about 17 at the time, so this was quite a while ago. I was still at uni.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just said, "Hey, you make music, I make music, let's make music." And yeah, and then he got in contact with me, and then I came down from uni, and we actually did a remix of one of my own songs, which is called Cold Love. So we did an interesting version of that in Ren
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
And then we wrote, it's either another 3 or 4 tracks, including Penitence, which is the one that's been released. So they've been in the works for quite a while actually. I think for Ren it was really up to him with everything going on. Like I completely respect and appreciate that.
Yeah.
He's had a very, very challenging time.
Yeah,
Um
you met him at the time that was also quite challenging for him then too. It wasn't
yeah,
because he wasn't really out of the thick of it yet. So
no, exactly. That's it. And and he hadn't really been recognised yet. But it wasn't that long after that actually that he started working with Sam, and then that's kind of when things blew up for him. So
yeah, yeah,
understandably, the stuff we had done kind of took a bit of a back burner
yeah.
whilst he was working on that. And yeah, and then he kind of surprised me and said, "Oh, I'm releasing it with this album," which is great.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
is.
Yeah, and because I actually hadn't properly heard the finished product yet either, so that was actually quite special to be able to hear it once it was released, and it's had such. There's a lot of reaction videos out there on YouTube, and I'll be honest and say I've sat there and watched most of them.
Well, I think also because he's got really, I mean, he's got the wind in the sails right now.
Yeah,
So it's been, it's been going on for, I would say, maybe the past 2 years where he's been really blowing up. But then, like,
yeah,
in the past 6, 7 months, I've seen, the reactions double or triple, and it's really that now people are really trying to go back to older songs and to, the first albums and listening to that.
yeah,
So I think you'll probably have many more reactions to see in the next 2 3 years when they're going to be even more people interested in his music and in everything
yeah.
that's for. So that's really interesting. And so you wrote your lyrics, right?
I actually bought the lyrics that I sang in that song kind of along with me. Like I just said to him, "Oh, I have this idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do something with this." So what I sang at the beginning is kind of I'd done that ages before I'd even really met Ren.
Okay.
Yeah, but I hadn't done anything with it because it wasn't a
Yeah.
full song. It was just kind of an idea.
Yeah.
And then he did his red magic. Yeah, he's a very, very special person. He's very talented. I don't think I'll ever work with anybody like Ren again because he truly has got a gift for what he
Yeah.
does. And the amazing thing about him is that he can probably do anything, if that makes sense. The music, like the music and the song that we made together is pretty different from the music that he's already done.
Yeah.
I think that's really special. He's like a chameleon. No matter who he
Yeah.
works with, he can make it work.
Oh yeah. He is a bit, because I think I've heard that a lot from reactors, especially, who are really discovering him and seeing watching different videos, and what the music videos, but then also the busking videos,
Mm,
and there have been so many people saying, he's like, they're like, 4 or 5 different people in that one person. He can just, go wherever he wants with the music, or take the
yeah,
music wherever he wants to, because he has all these different influences, and this gift with instruments also. He can just, pick
yeah,
up an instrument and play anything.
exactly.
So
And production.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
comes all the rest, and what we've been seeing now. So all of the production that he always did, and then also what we see now with the music videos, is also really quite amazing, I think, to
yeah,
have. But I think it's just like, it's a pool of creativity. It's just it just it just spills out of him because he's got his mind going all the time. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I think with that bit, like, with having to deal with what he's dealing with his health, I think like he almost sees it in a positive light that actually, although he's had this illness, he's had this time and this space to really just bathe in himself and
Yeah.
fully explore that creativity, and it absolutely shows.
Oh yeah.
Like talk about making the absolute best out of a really crappy situation. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah. It's a real lesson, I think, about how you can turn things around and put a different spin on really difficult and negative experiences. I think it's the only, I don't want to preach anything, but I think it's the only true way to heal, is if you're able to take something that happened to you that was really, really bad, and just try to find how you can transform it into something positive for the future, for your life or for others. And I think when you're able to put that spin on things and discover what you learned through the experience and how it's made you evolve and what you can do with it, I think then you can really heal from any situation, actually. Because I've been through, tons of really, really difficult things in my life,
mm,
and I've only really gotten to the bottom of it every time that I managed to to turn it into a positive in my life. And really
Yeah.
that, yeah.
No, I completely agree. I mean, like you, I've had a lot of really just not great things happen, and a lot of them in a really short space of time. But I wouldn't take any of it back either. I generally believe that I would not be the person that I am. I would not
Oh,
be where I am or any of that without actually going through the thick of it, but also taking responsibility in those things. I was in a really horrendous relationship with somebody that I was just completely blindsided by, and it was actually a very coercive and emotionally abusive situation. But I also had a part to play in that, you know, and although I technically was a victim, I also had to take responsibility
oh
for
yeah.
my role in that and allowing myself to stay in a situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
But also coming out of it and thinking about it that way. You know, I'm engaged to someone amazing now, and I would not have thought that 2 years ago.
Maybe it happened this way and you're engaged now to this person because of everything you've learned about yourself before.
Absolutely, and just learning about how to love someone else as
Yeah,
well. You
yeah,
know, you've got to learn these things about yourself and about how you deal with other people.
yeah.
Um,
But when you wrote Penitence, or because you say it came at different times, because you already had some of the material when you
yeah,
started. But everything you wrote in there, how do you feel about those words and those lyrics now, having the retrospect? Because
yeah.
I mean, it feels extremely painful.
It
So you
makes
must
me feel
just,
sad for that version of me,
yeah,
but also quite proud of the fact that that Molly can look at me now and be like, oh wow, yeah. So I've dealt with a lot of struggles with my mental health, especially when I was in a very dark place. Then I was dealing with addiction as well, so that was a big part of the problem.
yeah,
You know. But also don't want to take all the credit because I'm a Christian, so and I fully believe God's a big part of that for me, if not the main
Were,
part.
were you already a Christian and a believer at that time, or did that come afterwards?
Yeah, I grew up in the Christian family, but at that time I was very much a drifted believer.
Yeah.
I was not living what I should have been. But you know, that's all part of my testimony and part of the journey that I was meant to be on, and I don't think I'd have the relationship with God I do now if I didn't have to go through some of that tricky stuff to realise actually I need you more than
Yeah.
anything. So yeah. And I think, and it shows that I was quite lost in those lyrics as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what you've been saying and what you went through at that time, I was dealing with addiction too when I was about around the same age. And I think that when I look back now and I remember myself in those years and how I felt about myself and about the world. And one of the main things that I take out of it is that I was really lost. That I really felt lost. I felt lost within myself. I felt lost within society, and I had no real. I felt like I had no real purpose.
And
So
that's a big one. Everybody struggles with purpose.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what is purpose? You know, and I think that, and that's different for everybody, isn't it? Because some people, their purpose is their family,
yeah,
and the big majority of people, their purpose is their job.
yeah.
But then there's also people that neither of those kind of fill that purpose hole. But I think almost just having peace with not necessarily knowing your purpose, but knowing you're still serving one.
Yeah.
It's a long way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Really, I'm so happy we did this. And thank you
Yeah,
so
me
much for
too.
taking the time.
That's
It
okay.
was really nice.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was really, really nice talking
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
lovely. Thank you.